This video will contain spoilers for the movie Longlegs. We will be discussing the movie's mature themes, which some viewers may find upsetting. Viewer discretion is advised. Longlegs was released in theaters on July 12, 2024. Written and directed by Oz Perkins and starring Scream Queen Micah Monroe and the belovedly hated Nick Cage, the film got quite a bit of attention last year, even against contenders like Nosferatu, Trap, Immaculate, Terrifier 3, and most horrifying of all, Baby Girl. After a highly successful marketing campaign by the studio Neon, the movie was certainly the center of some colossal hype, and also after its release, a fair amount of criticism. In this video, we'll discuss the plot, the ads, and how looking at Perkins' other movies may help contextualize Longlegs and give viewers a better appreciation for the masterpiece we got. Yes, that's right, I will be defending one of my favorite movies of all time. So here it is, In Defense of Longlegs. Longlegs follows Lee Harker, an FBI agent and apparent psychic, as she works her first big, important case, to track down the elusive criminal behind a massive string of sick and twisted family annihilations, the titular Longlegs. Throughout the investigation, Lee makes 3 horrifying discoveries. Something satanic is afoot. Longlegs wasn't acting alone. And worse, he is closer to Lee than he appears. Doesn't that make your crime flick senses tingle? When all we had were the ads and a brief synopsis similar to what I described, eager soon-to-be viewers felt excited for a movie that was some sort of amalgamation of films like Silence of the Lambs, Zodiac, and Seven, enigmatic criminals, and the determined detectives on their trail. This didn't come from thin air. Let me take you back to January 2024. The world is quite literally on fire. Systems are crumbling all around us, and yet there is a beacon of light. A teaser for a mysterious new movie hit YouTube. The trailer was really scary. It was the first of a series of short videos that depicted clips and audio, which now we know were from Longlegs, as well as graphic mock crime scene photos, ominous descriptions, and phrases written in cipher. It was February when we got a clip titled Teeth of the Hydra Upon You, a lyric from T-Rex's Get It On, which is also one of the songs in the soundtrack, and that's when we had the key to the Longlegs alphabet cipher. Fans could use that key to figure out all sorts of scary warnings, including the obvious and iconic Hail Satan, as well as Hell Awaits and others. The official trailer hits the internet in May, and in Neon's most successful marketing technique of the entire advertising campaign, we never see Nick Cage's face as Longlegs. This means that fans had to wait until they were literally in a seat in theaters to see what this guy looks like. And just when it looks like hype has reached its absolute peak, Neon one-ups themselves. The next month, on June 14th, an ad went up in the Seattle Times depicting some lovely cryptic Longlegs musing and a URL for a website, thebirthdaymurders.net. This fictional website kicked up the hype for the movie a lot. There were dozens of mock crime scene photos, bodies of wives and children limp and covered in sheets and gore, as well as a detailed timeline of not only the specifics of each case, but the order in which they happened. And more, the whole thing was wrapped up in this tidy bow. We don't know who the mysterious owner of the website is, just that they refer to themselves as, quote, a friend of a friend, much like Longlegs and his accomplice do. That friend? Well, you can guess. Not much later, a phone number that played some creepy, breathy lines given by the man downstairs himself went live, and it was on billboards, TikTok, just everywhere. Neon's advertising for this film is famously impressive. Critics who didn't even enjoy the movie couldn't deny the impact that the ads had. Even Oz Perkins himself was pleased with how the studio took Longlegs and catapulted it into the mainstream. So here we are, summer of 2024, and viewers are excited to see some gruesome crime drama. Guts, gore, Satan, and Nick Cage doing some absolutely dastardly things. Reviewers are calling it the scariest movie of the year, and I'm pretty certain at one point it had a 100% Rotten Tomatoes score, no matter how briefly. So why, the day after the movie hit theaters, did we get review after review that sounded similar to this one, by Richard Lawson of Vanity Fair? The answers to the movie's questions, I'm afraid, tip the film into sloppy incoherence. Satanic worship is involved, as are a host of other tossed-in plot devices that suggest Osgood has been steering blind the whole time. Little in the film's conclusion adds up or satisfies. It begins to look more and more like a mess of spaghetti hurled against the wall. There you have it, the meat of the criticism for this film. Viewers felt as if they were watching a different movie, not only from the one promised in the ads, but also from the one they watched for the first half of its runtime. Confused? Let me give you the rest of the film's summary. Click off until the listed timestamp if you'd like to avoid it. Halfway through the film, it was revealed that Lee's birthday is January 14th, and Longlegs even knows who she is because he paid her a visit on her 9th birthday, an incident she remembers nothing about. After confronting her mother and hearing a lot of vague, cryptic non-answers, "Thanks, Mom," she discovers a photo of Longlegs in her childhood bedroom, which seems to uncover some buried memories of his visit. With the photo, law enforcement apprehends Longlegs and locks him in an interrogation room. In a chain of events, beginning with Longlegs literally smashing his own lights out in the most grotesque scene of the movie, we discover that Longlegs made lifelike dolls of the little birthday girls, which housed orbs imbued with satanic magic. The magic made the fathers of the families slay them all in gratuitously violent ways, in order to give their souls to the devil himself. Worse, the doll maker was living in Lee's basement the entire time because her mama, Ruth Harker, was working with him. That's why Lee's life was spared, why she had quote-unquote psychic abilities and yet could remember nothing of these details of her childhood, and that's how normal-looking families were deceived into accepting gifts from strangers. It wasn't some creep showing up to their house. It was a nice-looking nun with a devil on her shoulder. The devil orchestrated the whole plot. In a grueling final sequence, Lee rushes over to the house belonging to her superior and case partner, Agent William Carter. Miss Ruby, his daughter, is having her birthday today, the 14th. But worse, they have an unexpected duo at their door, Ruth Harker and an adorable life-size replica of Ruby. The end goes how you'd expect, but Lee is able to end her mother's life before her mother can harm the kid. The movie ends, and it's just Lee, Carter's daughter, and this doll. Roll the credits. So yeah, by taking out our killer Longlegs and re-spinning the movie into a nightmarish family-centered drama, many audiences were disappointed. They felt as if it was disconnected, and some were dissatisfied. They didn't see all but one of those gory crime scenes the website had boasted about. And worse, they didn't even find the movie scary. And a couple things are true. If viewers were hoping to see a film with John Doe-level stomach-churning violence or get any sort of explicit lore for a satanic family slayer Longlegs, they were obviously disappointed. If they were hoping to see a lot of Nick Cage's messed up pale little face, well, they didn't get that either. And if they were hoping to follow along with Lee Harker as she unraveled the case in any way similar to Zodiac or Silence of the Lambs, they were also shit out of luck. I think it's undeniable that no small part of this criticism comes from not seeing Lee girl boss in the same way Clarice does in Silence of the Lambs. Lee is complicated. She is both awkward and altruistic. She's intelligent and she's naive. She doesn't fit into a neat little box, and when women don't do that, from my experience, it tends to be irksome. But people aren't dichotomous. But was the movie really that bad? Was it truly an unscary, artsy-fartsy piece of media, which felt as if Oz was sitting on a balcony above us all, laughing maniacally, spraying piss on our heads, while we fell for a never-seen-before monumental switcheroo? Longlegs didn't happen in a vacuum. It is a deeply meaningful film which uses horror as a topping, the cheese for instance, to its artisan-baked, multi-grain seeded water cracker. Oz has said it himself in an interview with Deadline. The horror, the serial killer, the murders, they helped draw people in. You've got to find ways to stack your deck a little bit. You've got to find ways to help yourself out from the get-go. What are some shorthands you can employ to access an audience and allow an audience to access you? My access point for Longlegs was Silence of the Lambs. And it worked. Longlegs grossed over $120 million worldwide and was the highest grossing indie film of the year. Its first week at the box office was only financially overshadowed, hilariously, by Despicable Me 4. And that film also features some evil little guys. Some evil, disgusting little guys. Anyways, a lot of people saw the movie. The ads worked, and it's not Perkins' first time using the genre as a way to deliver one of his famous trauma drama stories. The Blackcoat's Daughter, his debut film, was released with A24 in 2015. The devil plays a big ol' role in this one too. The film follows boarding school-aged girls over one snowy holiday vacation. The character Kat, played by Longlegs actor Kiernan Shriepke, is a girl who is being possessed by the devil, who does some devil-worshipy things, and who is exorcised. She then steals a girl named Joe's identity and uses it to commit some acts of violence in order to get her goat daddy back. Ultimately, she realizes it's too late. The boiler room, which once blazed with the fiery passion of the man downstairs, is cold. The devil has left her all alone. Now she has to deal with the fact that 1, she did bad things and can't take them back, and 2, her father figure was not who he said he was. He didn't provide her with unconditional companionship. It worked pretty similar to Longlegs too. At first you're getting typical possession movie tropes, and it's quite frightening. And then you've got some jarring imagery. Seeing heads without bodies isn't pretty. But the exorcism scene, which is usually a really peak dramatic moment in these films, is a bit anticlimactic. And the end? It's like, why am I sobbing? She's not possessed anymore, the devil's gone. Why am I crying? And this was done with intent. In an interview with the AV Club from 2017, Perkins said, "I only wanted to indicate the possession subgenre enough to get people oriented, and then you can kind of do what you want. Once you get the Trojan horse through the gates, the Greeks can all pile out." Longlegs deals with family drama in a similar way. The Greeks here is the idea that your parents can hide a lot of important, life-changing truths under the selfish guise of protection. Lee's mom was protecting her from the devil, but she did some pretty unforgivable things. Not the worst of all, but definitely pretty bad, was lying to her kid. Omitting parallels to Oz's real life, his father's sexuality being this part of his legacy which once was so taboo, and other complexities, Oz is once again telling a universal story about a kid who is navigating hard relationships with her parents. I think drawing comparisons to The Blackcoat's Daughter helps demystify some of the noise associated with Longlegs. He didn't try to jokingly pull the wool over anyone's eyes. Historically, he has never ever pretended to be something he's not, with any sort of malicious intent. So I've argued against the idea that Perkins misled his audience in a malicious way. Now let's discuss this criticism. Longlegs isn't scary. Well, I think that perhaps the movie was just criminally misunderstood. Some viewers claimed that Nick Cage carried the film with his portrayal of the titular serial killer. Before I continue, I must say that I disagree. I could have seen anyone else in those prosthetics and that wig, although I am glad it was Cage because he was undeniably awesome and would have been my choice. But Alicia Witt, Blair Underwood, and Micah Monroe were the only people perfect for their roles. Witt played Ruth with such a subtle disconnectedness that didn't give away her satanic affiliations too soon, but was still off-putting on the screen. Underwood very, very neatly played around the boundaries of Silence of the Lambs crime drama and supernatural horror flick. And Monroe? Well, that's self-explanatory. Her performance was, to me, exemplary. But on the other side, many complained that Longlegs was a caricature, some silly little weird guy, which definitely took them out of that dreary, bleak environment and story that they claimed that they could see Perkins crafting. But what if we look at the antagonists in another Oz Perkins film, 2025's The Monkey? Based on a short story by Stephen King, The Monkey is a gory, dark comedy which follows Hal Shelburne, played by Theo James, and his family after the patriarch of the clan happens upon a toy monkey which, when its key is turned, triggers nonsensically violent events that result in random deaths. And this movie also faced some criticism. People didn't find it at all as funny and campy as I did. I think they wanted the monkey to be more relentless, like they wanted Longlegs to be harsher. They didn't just want to see the gratuitous violence. They wanted the perpetrator of the violence to have a motive, a purpose, a lore that they could understand. In The Monkey, bad things happen to good people for no good reason. The monkey isn't killing because it likes to see people suffer. It's killing because that's what it does. It's literally a killing machine. Not to mention, it's another Trojan horse. Well, Trojan monkey. The entire story, Hal tries to distance himself from his estranged son. Even when the kid's stepfather steps in to take full custody, he just doesn't want his son to inherit this monkey, his mistakes, his curse. It's like Longlegs' companion movie, from the perspective of someone who isn't only a son, but now a reluctant father. Just as Longlegs the character was more of an access point, the toy monkey was as well. In Longlegs, just as aimless as the monkey's slayings are, all roads lead somewhat fantastically to Satan. How didn't they see the nun in her very unique car fleeing every crime scene? Satan. Why couldn't a code breaker figure out this basic cipher? Satan. Why didn't Carter do anything when he knew his family may be a target? Do I even need to say it again? The devil. So now we know. Longlegs isn't some sort of exceptional gotcha made by a malicious director who liked to see everyone get hyped and scared just to present them with pretentious drivel. He has always used horror as a means to get viewers invested in the stories he tells. And as my video comes to a close, I have to say this. It's not like horror doesn't fit his stories. There's no disconnect for me. There is something uncomfortable and awful about discovering family secrets. There is fear in the worry that you will end up like your parents or that your kids will inherit your woes. There is confusion and disbelief and all sorts of feelings associated with horror when we come to terms with troubled, complex relationships between parents and children. Horror isn't just a vessel. It's a necessary set dressing to tell stories that are terrifying. It's showing the inside parts outside. And that's why I think this version of Longlegs is better than the one we were promised. I didn't want to see another movie in which violence against young girls was glorified and played out just to disturb. I didn't need to see a guy commit family annihilation and then contort the female bodies in a disturbing way. We know those horrors are out there. That's why there are so many self-defense classes for women. That's why female safety tools are all whistles and tasers, while men get hard hats and goggles. That's why girls are taught to dress in ways that don't attract too much attention. We want to protect our children from everything imaginable, and the worst things we can imagine have happened. And that's one of the movie's themes it's not shy about. In the beginning of the film, Lee talks to the young daughter of her boss, Little Ruby, and the kid mentions how she's outgrown her bedroom and she doesn't want some of the babyish decorations. She tells Lee that her father, however, insists that she keeps them. He doesn't want her to grow up too fast. But it's happening. She mentions that even veals grow up despite their living conditions, their boxes, their tied-up legs. Pretty soon, Miss Ruby will have a mind all her own, and a power to enact her own free will. She'll grow up and enter the big scary world on her own, and there's nothing Carter can do about it. Well, after they destroy that doll. We can't protect our girls. We can't protect our children from all of the world's increasing horrors. Ruth Harker is right. It is a cruel world, especially for the little things. And that's a fact, as the ending proves, that no force, FBI, mother, daughter, can deny. I don't need to see any of this happen to feel its weight. Violence and darkness hang in the margins and footnotes of this movie in a way that allows you to draw your own conclusions. The unknown is what makes it scary, and that's intentional. It is what we don't know what we imagine that is out there, to be what actually haunts us. Clarice Lowry's review for The Independent said it nicely. Longlegs suggests its greatest scares, rather than reveal them. The Longlegs we got is beautiful. It has dark satire at its edges and a core that is ripe with horror, dread, and in the way that it reminds us our experience is not singular, a strange sort of comfort. And that's why I've watched it an excessive number of times. There is still horror in the film for me. To the people who complained that the film wasn't scary, then what is? Did you love Longlegs? Hate it? Somewhere in between? Did you watch it in theaters or engage with the hype train before it hit the silver screen? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bang a gong, ride a white swan, do the woodland rock, and of course,
Hail Satan!